Good day, everyone. I am Francis Lenju, and I am here today to discuss a topic of utmost significance in the realm of moral psychology, Carl Gilligan's moral development theory. As we delve into the intricacies of this groundbreaking theory, we will explore the profound insights it offers into the complexities of human morality, particularly in relation to gender differences. Gilligan's work has not only challenged traditional perspectives on moral development, but has also paved the way for a more inclusive and nuanced understanding of ethics. Carl Gilligan's Theory of Moral Development, a feminist perspective on moral reasoning. So, before we start tackling Carl Gilligan's theory on moral development, let us first get to know her through her background. Carol Gilligan is an American psychologist, feminist, ethicist, and author. She is best known for her work on ethical community and ethical relationships, and for challenging Lawrence Kohlberg's theory of moral development. She proposed that women prioritize an ethics of care, while men prioritize an ethics of justice. She is a professor for humanities and applied psychology at New York University and has received many awards for her contributions to psychology and feminism. Now let's talk about the importance of studying moral development. Studying moral development is crucial because it helps us understand how people learn to distinguish between right and wrong, and how they apply this knowledge to their actions and decisions. Moral development also influences our values, empathy, justice, and ethical behavior. By studying moral development, we can gain insight in our own moral reasoning and improve our moral choices in different situations. Before we proceed, let's decipher first a traditional theory of moral development by Lawrence Kohlberg. Lawrence Kohlberg was a psychologist who developed a theory of moral development based on Jean Piaget's theory of cognitive development. Kohlberg proposed that moral reasoning progresses through 6 stages, grouped into 3 levels. Level 1, the pre-conventional level. At this level, morality is based on external consequences such as rewards and punishments. Children at this level obey rules to avoid negative outcomes or to gain personal benefits. There are 2 stages in this level. Stage 1, obedience and punishment orientation. The child follows rules to avoid being punished by authority figures. Stage 2, individualism and exchange. The child acts in their own interest, but also recognizes that others have different interests and perspectives. Level 2, or the conventional level. At this level, morality is based on social norms, expectations, and laws. Children at this level conform to the rules of their family, group, or society to maintain social order and approval. Stage 3 and Stage 4 are under this level. Stage 3, good interpersonal relationships. The child acts in ways that are expected by others, especially those who are close to them. They value trust, loyalty, and respect. Stage 4, maintaining the social order. The child respects the rules and laws of the larger society and upholds the common good. Level 3, the post-conventional level. At this level, morality is based on universal ethical principles that transcend social conventions. Children at this level judge actions by their moral values and principles, even if they conflict the laws or norms of their society. Stage 5 and Stage 6 belong to this level. Stage 5, social contract and individual rights. The child recognizes that rules and laws are based on social agreements that can be changed for the benefit of everyone. They respect the rights and values of others, even if they differ from their own. Stage 6, the last stage, universal principles. The child follows their own conscience and adheres to self-chosen ethical principles that apply to the all humanity. They are willing to act on their principles even if they face opposition or personal sacrifice. The limitations and criticisms of Kohlberg's theory. First, it lacks ecological validity, as it is based on hypothetical dilemmas that may not reflect real-life moral situations. Second, it defines morality narrowly in terms of justice reasoning, and ignores other aspects of morality such as relationships, affiliation, or care. Third, it is culturally biased, as it assumes that Western values of individual rights and universal principles are superior to other cultural values. Fourth, it is gender biased, as it implies that women are less morally developed than men, because they tend to use more care-oriented reasoning than justice-oriented reasoning. And the last one, it has methodological flaws, such as the use of small and unrepresentative samples, that lack of interreliability, and the inconsistency of stage progression. Gilligan's critique of Kohlberg. According to Gilligan, Kohlberg's theory is male-centered and biased because it assumes that the ethics of justice is superior to the ethics of care, and that women are less morally developed than men because they score lower in his stages of moral reasoning. Gilligan claims that Kohlberg's theory fails to capture the complexity and diversity of women's moral experiences, and that women's moral development follows a different trajectory than men's. Gilligan argued that Kohlberg's theory was biased toward men and boys who prioritize an ethics of justice based on abstract principles and rules, while women and girls prioritize an ethics of care based on interpersonal relationships and context. Gilligan conducted interviews with women who faced difficult moral dilemmas, such as deciding whether to have an abortion, and showed that their moral reasoning was different from, but not inferior to men's. Gilligan's work aimed to address the gender bias in moral development research by proposing a different framework that recognized and valued women's moral voice. Now let's go on to our main topic, which is Gilligan's theory of moral development. Gilligan's theory of moral development was influenced by her research with women who were facing the dilemma of whether to have an abortion or not. She found that women's moral reasoning was often based on the context and consequences of their choices, rather than on universal or abstract rules. She also found that women's moral development was influenced by their sense of self and their relationship with others. Gilligan's alternative theory of moral development is based on the idea that women have a different way of reasoning about ethical issues than men. Gilligan proposed that women tend to prioritize an ethics of care, which emphasizes the importance of relationships, empathy, and compassion, while men tend to prioritize an ethics of justice, which focuses on abstract principles, rights, and rules. Sex is therefore a differentiating factor, although, as Gilligan points out, any attempt to chart moral development as a single sequence is bound to present only half the picture. The moral development in females is traced through 3 levels, each showing a different resolution to the conflict between responsibility to self and responsibility to others. Gilligan's theory consists of 3 levels of moral development, each with 2 stages. The levels are pre-conventional, conventional, and post-conventional. Pre-conventional level, where the person is self-centered and makes decisions based on their own needs and preferences. Stage 1. Orientation to individual survival. According to Carl Gilligan's theory of moral development, Stage 1 is the pre-conventional level, where the goal of a woman is to survive. She is focused on individuality and making sure that her basic needs are met. The self is the sole object of concern. Women do not care about others and mainly focus on self-needs. It is the self-building stage. Some examples of moral reasoning in this stage are: a woman decides to have an abortion because she does not want to deal with the consequences of an unwanted pregnancy. A woman steals food from a store because she is hungry and has no money. And the third one is: a woman lies to her partner about her whereabouts because she wants to have some fun without him. Stage 2. Goodness as self-sacrifice. It is the stage where women adapt societal values and norms and prioritize the needs and welfare of others over their own. They equate morality with being a good person, which often means being selfless, caring, and responsible for the relationships they have. They also tend to avoid conflicts and judgments, and seek harmony and approval from others. Some examples of moral reasoning in this stage are: a woman decides to stay in an unhappy marriage for the sake of her children, even if it means sacrificing her own happiness and well-being. A woman volunteers at a local charity, even if it means giving up her free time and hobbies, because she believes it is her duty to help those in need. And a woman agrees to follow her husband's career choices, even if it means giving up her own dreams and aspirations, because she thinks it is her role to support him. Conventional level. The person is socially oriented and makes decisions based on the expectations and norms of their society or group. Stage 3. Goodness as a responsibility for others. In this stage, women recognize the need to help other people and find moral satisfaction in being able to meet those needs. They emphasize being a good person in order to maintain the goodwill and approval of others. They also adopt the norms and expectations of society as their own moral standards. Some examples of moral reasoning in this stage are: a woman decides to stay in an unhappy marriage because she believes that divorce would hurt her children and disappoint her parents. A woman volunteers at a local charity because she wants to make a positive difference in her community and be seen as a caring and generous person. And a woman agrees to follow the rules and regulations of her workplace because she respects the authority of her boss and values the harmony and cooperation of her colleagues. Stage 4. The morality of nonviolence. In this stage, women achieve a balance between caring for themselves and caring for others. They recognize that everyone's needs and perspectives are important, and they seek to resolve moral dilemmas through dialogue and mutual understanding. They also take responsibility for the consequences of their actions and respect the diversity of values and beliefs. Some examples of moral reasoning in this stage are: a woman who decides to have an abortion after considering her own needs, the potential child's needs, and the father's needs. She does not judge herself or others for their choices, but tries to empathize with them and communicate honestly. A woman who volunteers at a local shelter for domestic violence survivors. She does not see herself as superior and inferior to the women she helps, but as a fellow human being who can offer support and compassion. She also respects the different choices and opinions of the women at the shelter and does not impose her own values on them. And a woman who participates in a peaceful protest against a war that she believes is unjust. She does not hate or demonize the people who support the war, but tries to understand their reasons and persuade them with rational arguments. She also acknowledges the risk and cost of her actions and accepts them as part of her moral commitment. Post-conventional level. The person is self-reflective and makes decisions based on their own moral principles and values. Stage 5 and Stage 6 belong to this level. Stage 5. Morality of autonomy and care. It is when women emphasize taking responsibility for the consequences of their choices and gaining control over their own lives. In this stage, women balance their own needs and interests with those of others, and they recognize that morality is not based on fixed rules or universal principles, but on the context and situation of each dilemma. Some examples of moral reasoning in this stage are: a woman who decides to have an abortion after considering her own health, well-being, and future plans, as well as the potential impact of her decision on her partner, family, and society. A woman who chooses to pursue a career that she is passionate about, even if it means sacrificing some income or social status, because she values her personal fulfillment and autonomy. And a woman who supports a social movement that advocates for the rights and dignity of marginalized groups, even if it goes against the norms and laws of her culture, because she believes in the ethics of care and compassion. Stage 6, or the ethics of care and justice. According to Gilligan's moral development theory, Stage 6 is the highest level of moral reasoning, where people balance the ethics of care and justice. They consider both the universal principles of justice and the contextual factors of care when making moral decisions. They also recognize that morality is not a fixed set of rules, but a dynamic process of negotiation and dialogue with others. Some examples of moral reasoning in the sixth stage are: a woman who decides to have an abortion after considering the impact of her decision on herself, her partner, her family, and her unborn child. A teacher who challenges a sexist policy in his school by appealing to the principles of equality and fairness, as well as the needs and interests of his students. A nurse who refuses to participate in a medical experiment that violates the rights and dignity of the patients, even if it means losing her job. A social worker who advocates for the welfare of a child who is abused by his parents, while also trying to help the parents overcome their problems. Now let's move on to the criticisms and controversies. Some of the criticisms and controversies surrounding Gilligan's theory are: Gilligan's theory is based on a small and selective sample of women, mostly white, middle class, and educated, and does not account for the diversity of women's experiences and backgrounds. Gilligan's theory relies on subjective and qualitative methods of data collection and analysis, such as interviews and narratives, and does not provide clear and objective criteria for assessing moral reasoning. Gilligan's theory reinforced the stereotype of women as nurturing and emotional, and men as rational and logical, and does not acknowledge the complexity and variability of moral thinking across genders and situations. And Gilligan's theory does not explain how moral development occurs or changes over time, and does not address the role of social and cultural factors in shaping moral values and judgments. Now, the contributions and impact. Some of the contributions and impact of Gilligan's theory to the field of moral development are: Gilligan's theory challenged the male-centered bias of Kohlberg's theory and highlighted the importance of women's and girls' perspectives on morality. Gilligan's theory introduced the concepts of an ethics of care as a distinct and valuable mode of moral reasoning that emphasizes relationships, empathy, and compassion. Gilligan's theory inspired subsequent research and theories that explored the role of gender, culture, context, and emotion in moral development. And Gilligan's theory influenced the fields of feminist theory, gender studies, ethics, education, psychology, and social work. Women have a different way of reasoning morally than men, based on an ethics of care rather than an ethics of justice. Gilligan argues that women's moral development is not inferior or less advanced than men's, but rather reflects on their different socialization and experiences in a patriarchal society. Gilligan also suggests that her theory can help women to affirm their own moral voice and challenge the dominant male perspective on morality.